I would like to welcome you to Greater Centennial, where our pastor is the Reverend Dr. Stephen W. Poe. This is a function of the Social Action Ministry here at Greater Centennial, and we are very, very, very grateful for your presence. I know it's cold outside this time of the year. In real estate, we say anytime somebody comes out of their home to buy or sell something, it's kind of serious about buying. Well, if you're willing to come out in this kind of weather, you're serious about wanting to come and share and communicate. So I say welcome. Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights leader, has words that pertain to this season. There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. We may have all come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. And in the words of Jesus Christ and in the Bible, a new commandment I give you: love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. All the commandments: you shall not commit adultery, you shall not kill, you shall not steal, you shall not covet, and so on, are summed up in this single command: you must love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus said unto them, thou shalt love the Lord God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it: thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. We are here today for a number of reasons. By definition, a community is a group of people who share the same geographic area, or people who share similar interests. In light of recent tragedies that have occurred between members of our community and the police, and in light of the current unrest in this country which has led to mass protest, in light of the belief that Black lives don't matter, we as a community have gathered together to have an opportunity to talk, vent, strategize, and communicate with each other, to learn exactly what perceptions, feelings, expectations, and ideas we have concerning this very serious matter that affects us all. We've invited seniors, youth and adults, parents, politicians, business owners, clergy, and police to engage each other, to gain insight about each other, to ensure we're all on the same page with our beliefs and our understandings. So that's kind of the proposition and reason why we're here today. So just a few housekeeping issues. Cell phones, if you can put them on vibrate or silence them. A series of questions to the various community members. We're gonna then have a presentation from the police, a 5-point presentation on community development and relations. So that will follow this round of questions, and then there will be questions after that that you can pose directly to the members of the police.
Good evening all.
Good evening.
This question is for the seniors, and we're asking that. Okay. This question is for the seniors, and the floor is open to any of our senior members who are here. They can address it as soon as I present it. Okay, to the seniors, we'd like to know Do you feel safe in your communities? And if not, what suggestions do you have to make your communities safer? Are there any senior members in the audience who'd like to address that? If you raise your hand, we'll give the mic to you.
Now, let me say, this is a town hall meeting.
As much as I love to walk, I'm sorry, I noticed that a lot of these street lamps are out. I made several complaints to PW, no avail. So that would be a suggestion to making if you provide the lights for the street. A lot of people cannot rely on public transportation or afford taxi or do not drive to make it safer for us to walk at night.
So I came here to retire from Brooklyn. And lo and behold, nothing ever happened to me in Brooklyn or any of my work to Manhattan or nothing. When I came here, I've been assaulted twice. But I talked to the police and I feel better. But I walk in no fear, I carry no weapons, and I just gonna carry on with God's help and God's blessing behind me on me. He protects me, and I believe that, and I hope I don't get assaulted again. But I hope to be moving to a senior building with seniors my own age, and I think that'd be the best thing for me, instead of climbing up 2 flights of stairs with a walking device. So this is going to happen in the next couple of months. Thank you.
I commend the commissioners from coming out here, but for us to have a real honest conversation, we need actually elected officials from City Hall need to be here also too, because they follow orders that come from the City Council and the mayor. See, the question that this young man asked, they really can't answer that, but it should come from City Hall. We need to have our City Council present, and we need to have our mayor present, because a lot of the questions that we're going to ask about community relations and police and community relations has to do with proper legislation that comes out of City Hall, has to do with the directives that come out of the mayor's office. So, you know, even though we congratulate these men for coming, but there's going to be some questions that they really can't answer because it has to come from the elected officials themselves on what they're doing with policies and procedures and directives coming straight from City Hall and how the police and the community will have relations. Thank you.
And I want to say to the brother that raised the question.
Let me say this to you. Your local officials are not the only elected officials that are responsible for communities. Each of our offices, whether it's at the federal and state level, also have constituent services in our offices. And some of the things that you raise are really a level almost above city government. Several years ago, we had a clinic in relationship with, the city had a clinic for veterans in relationship to Mount Vernon Hospital. But unfortunately, that was lost. And part of what it was governed to do was to help to address those issues at more than one level. I don't disagree, however, that city government should have been here, should be here. But I think that sometimes we miss the mark when we think that that's the only level of government that we have as a support network. I know that my office continually, my staff gets really upset because every time I go to a meeting like this, give out cards, we get a flood the next day of people coming into the office. But that's what our office is there to do. And many times the legislative initiatives that you want are a level above local government. Resources should be made available through your state and your federal government on behalf of veterans. But I know that we've been able to start some initiatives within some of the churches. I know the Grace Church, for instance, my own home church, has a veterans ministry. Many of the churches have similar ministries. They also have reentry ministries as a part of their church to help to deal with some of the issues that you're addressing. So it's not as though we don't have those services, it's just that we need to be coordinating those services better. The other thing that I would like to hope would happen, and part of the reason I came to this, and I have 4 other events to do tonight, but I thought it was important for me to come and spend as much time here as I can, is we've been trying to start something called a precinct council, similar to what happens in all the other boroughs. And I think that from this, this is a perfect segue, because this is what the precinct councils do. And they meet monthly in order to have these kind of roundtable discussions and bring out not only local legislators, but particularly the police department and those members of the community who want to be and have a relationship with our police department to have an ongoing dialogue that will help to alleviate some of the issues that we're experiencing. So I would be more than willing to work with. I know that Ms. Gill, who has been the 47th precinct president, has been the person who several of the commissioners can attest has worked with our police departments in the past. And she's thinking of retiring as the 47th precinct council person, but I've said to her, before you retire, Vernon could use some of your guidance and some of your help, and perhaps in doing that. And being here tonight is like the sense that this community is ready, finally, to begin such a council, and I hope that we will do that. So if you have issues pertaining to veterans, call my office. And we will see what we can do in the interim until we figure out what's available at local government level. Thank you.
Also governs part of this district on the state level. And I'm here to listen to your concerns on the state level and try and help work with City Hall and with Hassel Thompson's office to, you know, get some community policing action. Thank you.
All right, the next round of questions are going to be directed to our youth and young adult population. And we'd like to
when I'm going to mention the veterans, there is actually a program through the Westchester Community Opportunity Program that addresses reducing homelessness with veterans. I work for victim assistance services in the Mount Vernon Police Station, so there are resources. I just don't know how to really channel, but I'm more than happy to share the information if you would like it.
And I'm a member of the active, social active committee of Centennial Church. Before I ask my question, I just want to say, Brother Jeff, your question is very appropriate. And I want this group of people to know that everyone in this community was invited. And I'm really sorry to see no one from the council is being here to represent the council. You know, if we keep silent about what's happening in our community, we are just as bad as the people who are doing it to us. That's right. I was watching the deliberation with Ms. Lynch for Attorney General. And from the top to the bottom was there recommending her. Local people were speaking on behalf of her. And it's interesting to watch, and I think it will be repeated. So I'm asking you to engage yourself to look at these things. It looks boring and it's long, but you learn a lot of stuff from it. I know Senator Thompson works very hard, and right now Albany is busy, and she covers the state and part of the Bronx. This is something local in Mount Vernon, and we have members of our church that is in other areas. So it's not just Mount Vernon, but for our city council not to have one representative here. Let They just walk out. Please don't interrupt me, sir. Please don't. You're just telling me the president just walking now. Before I was speaking, there was nobody here. So I'm saying what I have to say. And this is an open forum for you to speak and express yourself. Because I'm one that goes to every forum and every meeting. And as the senator said, there's a monthly meeting with the city council. And I've been there. The last meeting I went, talking about the quality of life. The police was called. The police was called on us who was speaking on the quality of life. There was no gesture of a finger. There was no baseball bat. There was no individual thing. So this is where you can speak, where you are not going to be intimidated. You should not be intimidated. And we should not just accept people coming around when it's election time to get elected and get petitions signed. I'm a district leader consecutively for years, and I've been doing it locally. If you don't select the right people in the council, the judicial system to represent you, you'll get the kind of grand jury that you got and what is happening all over the country to minority people. Young people, I'm the one to ask the question to you. And please, speak up, because most of the time, people assess you and you don't have the opportunity to speak for yourself. Now, remember this. Be respectful in what you have to say, whether it's negative or positive. Because the police is not our enemy. Police have mothers, they have fathers, they have wives, they have brothers, they have sisters, and they have children. And they need to go home to their family safely as well. So, we want you to ask any question or any comment that you have had with relationship with the police, whether negative or positive. And the floor is now open to the young adults.
And I remember you coaching my games too. Some of them calls I wasn't agreeing with before, but you were right. Basically what he was saying is all true. What I see is a disconnect with youth, because I work with them all day long, is that they don't know who you are. Explain to the good kids who you are, the point of view is going to be totally different. Back in the day, we used to walk the streets. I think we need to walk the streets a little bit more as police officers and get to know the community. When I was a kid, I knew every cop in my block on the beat. And I never did anything wrong, and I never feared you because I know who you were. Today, a lot of the kids fear, and the fear comes from the unknown. You know, and I try to instill in my programs with all the youth is that they're not your enemy. Okay, they're your friends. Like I always say, a person that you don't know is just somebody, a friend that you haven't met. So it just takes time to introduce yourself, so this way they can become more comfortable.
I'm a member of this wonderful church, so glad to have you here. My concern, I'm totally against the hoodies, the pants down to the kneecaps. I'm totally against that. But it does not give anyone the right to harass our children because of the way they're dressed. And that's what I'm getting from our children. I speak to them every day. Mr. Hardy, I have the right to wear a hood. Absolutely, you do have a right. It's not to me, I don't like it, but you do have the right. And they feel because they're wearing their hoodies, they're wearing their pants down to their behinds, that they're being harassed. And sometimes I believe that. I believe that they're stereotyped. And we have to stop that. And I need your guys, the police officers, to speak to our children. Let them know, listen, you don't have to wear that hood. We need to see who you are. We need to know who you are. We want to see your wonderful face. It's okay. You know, pull those pants up. You look wonderful with those pants up. Not, pull them up. Take that hood off. That's not how we speak to our children. And we have to stop it, because to get respect, we have to give respect. Thank you very much.
I got married in this church, raised in this community, worked in the Mount Vernon Police Department as a SRO, quality of life officer, youth, gangs, narcotics, homicide, security detail for entertainers, Clinton Young. So I pretty much done a lot of things. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, I'm a member of the Masons. And with that being said, one of my biggest frustrations in light of everything that's going on in our community, and I mean the national community, in terms of police brutality, I've yet to hear anybody come out and get in front of this and say, we're not tolerating police brutality, nor are we not tolerating crime. My biggest problem is dialogue, and we don't have it. In my years of working on this police force, and you can check the records, and there's officials here, I didn't have one single civilian complaint, and I made arrests. I worked with some of the most dangerous people, and some of the most nicest people, but it was all in dialogue. It's called verbal judo. I used the continuum use of force, where you start out talking, and you step it up each and every time. Part of my problem, and I've had my issues with the Mount Vernon Police Department, and they know I have. But I'm not here for that. I'm here to try and develop a relationship where they need to start being more. You talk about how we talk to our kids about how they need to talk to the police. It needs to go both ways. So as a police officer, and this is what bothers me even more, is that while I see police union dialogue with the mayor and dialogue with the governor, the one thing that I think black officers have a unique perspective is that they're black and they're officers. And why wouldn't you sit them down at the table and get their perspective on some of these issues concerning the community? That's right. Here in Mount Vernon, where the community is probably about 69% African American. The police department is 61% white. All right. Now I've heard the excuses. I'm a police officer here. So as far as excuses, it's easy to say, well, we try to hire blacks, but when you try, you have two subjects, one that's black, one that's white, both of them have speeding tickets, and the way that you word it, and you turn around and say, well, this guy has the propensity to break the law, and this guy had just made a few mistakes. That's how it happens. So if we're going to be transparent, and Corey, if we're going to be transparent, we're going to be real. Let's talk about the issues that we have a problem with. And let's get over that part. We constantly want to sit here and praise, and there are a lot of girls. I'm going to tell you right now, there's plenty of girls. Dave Carter, Johnson, Rucci, even Goldman over here. I mean, there are a lot of good officers here, But the fact of the matter is, there are bad officers that seem to overrule the good officers, and the department does nothing. I remember an officer spitting on a 14-year-old kid. That was in my law enforcement class. I taught law enforcement to the kids in alternative high school for 3 years. And those kids had been arrested prior, and for 83% of them stayed out of trouble. So I'm always an advocate for teaching law to children, because they have the sense to make the right decision if they have the information. See, I'm all about education, but I'm about keeping it real too. And you got bad cops, and sometimes departments don't do what they're supposed to do. It's called accountability. And that's where we're failing at. Transparency. I remember when Detective Ridley was killed, one of the things that is in our policies and procedures is that when an officer's gun goes off, no matter where it's at, we're to work with the investigating agency. Well, our department didn't send anybody who was killed. I know, because I was on the homicide unit. And I was totally disappointed. And it was in our policies and procedures, and the chief at that time didn't allow it to happen. Nobody said anything. Part of my problem is that nobody says nothing. And one of the things is that when good men don't say nothing, you're just as bad. That's right. And I'm talking about the politicians, I'm talking about the administration. When you got a bad cop that costs you $1 million, I think you all can figure it out. Lock them up. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. I just have a problem, but when it comes to other people, and normally people of color, you know, when there was a transference of power in the police department, I know 7 good officers that were automatically displaced. I remember that. And I was hurt on my job. They were just displaced. And the rumor was they were involved with gangs. And I took offense to that. Because I've worked my whole life, I've lived in this community, I've worked my whole life in this community. And for you to turn around and say that I've been involved with gangs as a black officer, they didn't say black, they said Mount Vernon residents. Right. Now I'm a resident here. I vote here, and I'm going to let you know about it. Yep. And I'm going to tell you now, when it comes up to the elections, you're going to hear my voice loud and clear. But when you sit back here and you make these accusations, and then here we are 2 years later, almost 3 years now, and I haven't seen one officer that's from the city of Mount Vernon federally arrested or anything. I have a problem with that. I'm very upset with that. Because a lot of these officers are close friends of mine that were accused of that. That the thing was pointed at them. To the point even where the investigation began on me. So I have a problem with the transparency because you pick and choose who you want to look at. And I have to put it out there. Because other than that, I wouldn't be a man. I'm a man just like any other man, and I do not bow down to anybody. I keep it real.
This right here is community meeting. We here, we just have one church here. A community meeting should have everybody. These guys need to see numbers. You understand? Let them know that we're not playing. This is a black community, a black town. We need to be policed by black people. I've been in a lot of black towns where police forces are legitimately black. We be policed by white folk, white people, no offense, that don't live here, they don't know us, they don't care about us. We need to be policed by people that understand us, understand our culture, understand us as people, not just the youth, but adults too. We speaking on respect. We want our youth to respect the police, when all they see is negative press. All they see is police beating us down, shooting us, killing us, with no consequences. How they gonna respect that? I know I have a hard time doing it. And the night you said, I don't have nothing against them, but this thing is need to be corrected. That's how I feel. Thank you.
Department and the executive officers of the department. I want to first recognize City Council President Marcus Griffith, who came in, and Richard Thomas, our City Council, who came in before. If you haven't been introduced, this is Deputy Commissioner Richard Burke, Deputy Commissioner Gaylord Morrell, and Honorary Deputy Commissioner Reverend Dr. Sean Barber. Sorry about that. I've been hearing a lot, and it's kind of hard to keep it all together from all the different things that are going on here and the different things that are said. So some of the ones that come to mind that we're dealing with directly right now in the agency and the police department, I want to be able to be in front of that, specifically the hiring, because that's come up a couple of times. I think some of our brightest stars and our most success has come from our ability to hire from within this community. And we have a few of those officers sitting here, retired Sergeant Anthony Mitchell, Montika Jones, and you know, myself. I'm from Mount Vernon my whole life. So, Dave Clark, of course, sitting right next to me. So we have a lot of family and friends. The issue is civil service. And as every one of us know that's taken a police test, you have to take the test. And you have to get on the list, you have to pass it. And after that, there's a couple more steps that go on. Psychologicals, medicals, and agilities. And then after that part comes up, then comes the part where you get to the interview that Sergeant Mitchell had asked about. I happen to be in a position now where I'm involved in that process. One of the challenges we're seeing here in Mount Vernon is getting our youth to apply to the police department, encouraging them, our high school grads, our college grads, to take the police exam, to take the test. That's a huge challenge for us, is getting them to take it. I would love to hire every single cop that goes through the academy as Mount Vernon residents. If we could do that, we could probably change a lot of the things that everybody here is talking about right now.
What do you do to recruit?
Recruiting is letting them know
what do you do to recruit?
Specifically, we have our officers that are involved directly with the community doing our recruiting. So, you know, word of mouth. This is a very small community. A lot of you here know me. A lot of you have worked with the Dole Center and other things. Our youth are not really that interested in being police officers. I've heard the stories myself. Somebody had mentioned a few minutes ago about having the youth see the police, not just when they're getting locked up. We do have some of the programs where the youth come to police headquarters and they get chaperoned around. And
sound like a recruiting program.
Are we doing the recruiting from Mount Vernon? So that
what I'm trying to do, rather than get into a back and forth, just trying to explain some of the challenges that we see in our hiring process. Explain to you why you see some of the people that you do. They are good candidates. They're good citizens that we look to hire. It's that they took the effort, they took the test, and that's the list that they're on.
Let me just say, there's a lot. There's recruiting programs. Mount Vernon has had successful recruiting programs when they've gone to the college.
Elsewhere in the department, but he led for several years one of the best recruiting classes that we've had. And a lot of people from Mount Vernon, because there are a lot of kids, even from our law enforcement class, that ended up taking criminal justice as a major when they went off to college. So the opportunities are there. The fact of the matter is there's quite a few levels. And I'm glad that Captain Goldman is addressing it. Again, we need to find solutions, and the solution is we need to inform our young people about this career opportunity. A lot of people talk bad about college, and so therefore you don't think the kids are listening, but they are. So you need to go out and start talking about the opportunities being in law enforcement that are there. But again, a lot of that falls on the department and how they do their recruiting, and you're absolutely right. They need to be more vigorous, and they need to find people that'll go out to these colleges and find Mount Vernon. There's a lot of Mount Vernon residents that's taking criminal justice.
Yeah, so the captain's starting to warm up the room, so I'm gonna help you. I live in Mount Vernon now, because we gotta go to town. So these are the questions that you should be asking, because the police say, hey, so now we're doing an analysis. Is the police department doing an analysis tonight? So these are questions you gotta ask. We need an analysis, a crime analysis, last year to this year, year to date, or you can do the year of last year, just give them the numbers. Have we had any cops arrested? You know, what's the gang involvement? I know the captain ought to do an analysis, or one of the commissioners, somebody could do an analysis, so the residents would probably feel a little more comfortable. If you do an analysis, then you know what's going on in your community, right? So, how about the police department give an analysis, and then y'all can do your questions based on the analysis that they're giving. How many civilian complaints do Mount Vernon Police Department have? Do they even have a civilian complaint review board? Are they entertaining when you call and say, I was harassed? Are they jotting that down? These are questions that you gotta ask in these town hall meetings. All right, so here, take the mic, and hopefully we get an analysis, and then that's how you go when you're having a town hall meeting dealing with the police.
Pelham is nothing like Mount Vernon, but they still have the same police problems that we have here in Mount Vernon. I don't really talk a lot. I'll watch people. I went to school, so, you know, I'm going to school. I'm going to return back to school for psychology, but one part about psychology is watching people. Mount Vernon has every facet of society represented here. I live not far from here. I live on the south side. I want to come back home, okay? I want to be able to see the hopeless possibilities of what things could be like here in Mount Vernon. But one thing that I see that they lack is love. I see on Fridays, whatever, every 2 weeks when Mount Vernon gets paid, All the police officers get their check, they go. Get their check. It's about the money. You love money. Okay. The money's not there, what you got? Nothing. On September 9th of last year, I was stabbed, assaulted, while I was walking my dogs. I called the police officers, and I believe it was unconscionable for me to hear the officers say that I initiated a fight, which I didn't. But there are no cameras, you know, but what made it so sad for me is that the officers were the same hue as me. Oh my goodness. I have a lot of friends in law enforcement, whether they be lawyers, whether they be psychologists, whatever. One thing that Mount Vernon needs is cultural sensitivity training. They don't have that here. I know Mount Vernon, Yonkers, certain parts of New Rochelle, they supply the prison industrial complex. I read the stock. I go online and I see exactly what the prison industrial complex does. Mount Vernon feeds. Up on that block right there, there's a lot of stuff that goes on up there. Okay? I see the cops constantly patrolling. Them little kids out there, they are so desensitized. Y'all have to think before you pull a gun, before you speak to anybody, because we're all mothers raising our children with the best way we know how. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying. Just another voice in the wind. I'm just saying.
Like I was on November 29th, 2 days after Thanksgiving. I cannot give you everything, but I just want to draw and point and paint a picture for you of what happened on November 29th at 5:30 to 5:40 early in the morning. And early in the morning, on that morning, the police busted in or busted through without a no-knock warrant. Was a warrant, but it was a warrant for somebody who was my nephew. We all can get some knuckleheads in our family. I got one. Okay, he does his thing, however he does it, when he does it, but he does not do it at my mother's house. Included in this geographical local area and community of Mount Vernon is Leominster Towers. My mother lives at 70, which is a fast drain, 5A, and maybe you know about it, okay? You should, all right? But that morning, okay, after Thanksgiving, myself, my brother, and my mother was in the house. At 5:30 in the morning, the police busted through my mother's door, okay, without a no-knock warrant. Didn't get a warrant till later on to know what was really happening. My mother just finished with heart surgery. Laying on the couch, I laid in her bed and my brother laid in my nephew's bed. All right? They came in the house, and I'm going to try to make this quick, because this is a story to be told. And I got to tell you that I've never seen corruption in the way that I've heard it until I really saw it that night, early into that morning. And so they busted in, okay? Police came in, I'm in one room, my brother's in another, my mother's watching TV, was on the couch. I heard my mother scream. That scared me half to death because I thought something was going on, all right? And so she screamed, and all I could hear, raise your hand, police! And I heard something like bullets because they sent in a smoke bomb that hit the floor, smoked up my mother's floor. And yes, in 70, everybody's not a drug addict. There are some beautiful apartments. My mother has one, okay? And they threw in a smoke bomb, came in, and said police when they finally did identify themselves. Never have I ever been arrested. Never have I been in handcuffs. They told me to turn around and lay on the floor. I said, I'm not getting on the floor because I can't get down there. And so they said, well, okay, lay on the bed. And I laid on the bed, and then they told me to get up after they put the little plastic wraps around my arm, around my wrist, and told me to get up. I said, you get me up. You put me down here. I can't get up. Okay, and I got up after he helped me get up, and I think it was somebody that knew me because they were very nice after a while. But they took me up, and not to say that everybody, like the gentleman said, in the police station is a bad cop, because they're not. But bad cops make it bad sometimes for good cops. All right? And so, uniformed, maybe about 15 of them came in the house, left the house as soon as they came in the house. Maybe one stayed, two stayed, the black one stayed in the kitchen, while Sean Fagan, let me call his name tonight, he's not here, I was hoping he was, but Sean Fagan, Sergeant Sean Fagan, comes into my mother's house with his investigative team, as he would say it is. Okay, they come into my mother's house, saying that they were there to arrest Jamel Middleton, who does not live with my mother. I thought that it was protocol to go to Leominster Towers to find out who lives in the house that you want to bust into before you start to think that you want to do that. And when they came in, he came in, brought the dog in, the whole 9 yards of it, trying to make it short, walked around like he was cheese, you know, walked around. There it is, and I'm going to get to that part. But he walked around, and he walked around, and he's talking all kind of crap. While he got the black cop in my mother's refrigerator violating our privacy. Got the black cop in the refrigerator while he got the white team in the back room looking for drugs that was not in my mother's house. I'm in my mother's house all the time with my siblings, as was my brother, as was my mother there. And they go to the back room, y'all, and I can't even get this out of my mind every day. They go to the back room, bring in the dog to search the house. The dog came out and found nothing. Here comes Sean Fagan. Sean Fagan. Y'all got that? Sean Fagan puts on gloves and said they didn't do the search the right way. So we're going to do it again. They went to the back rooms and literally destroyed my mother's house. Literally picked up lamps and broke them purposefully. It's one thing to do due process, but it's another thing when you go above it in a negative way because you came to get pluses that you didn't get that morning. And you came to get somebody that didn't live there. And so when they came in, they just did everything that they did do, which was destroy it. And to make a long story short, they checked everything. They had us sitting in the front while they were all in the back ransacking my mother's house. And what happened is that they took my brother's pants that they could find, emptied them out, $15 came out, and he said, you know, I can take all of you all to jail. I said, well, take me, but come correct. He said, no, I'm going to take him. Meaning my brother. He takes my brother out and takes him, to make a long story short, to the police station. And when I get word, I go down there, and he says, look, you bring me Jamel and I'll release Kevin. And so I said, excuse me, because I asked for the sergeant of narcotics. And he came down and said, here I am, it's me. And he said, you bring me Jamel and I'll release Kevin. I said, you got to release my brother because he did nothing. And he said, you bring me Jamel and I'll release Kevin. And I said to him, you get paid, you don't live here. And I know you don't live here because you're not one of us, you're not for us. And he said, you bring me Jamel and I'll release Kevin. But to make a long story short, I began to go to the police station to talk to my brother. I found it crazy that when I went there, they act like as clergy, I couldn't see him. Oh, Sarge, is that okay? Is that okay? I found that really puzzling to me. But to make a long story short, we bailed my brother out. When my brother got out, and I put in a complaint about 8 pages, I went to see Raina, etc. But when my brother got out, here's the piece that got me. And we're still going through to get him off, because what Sean Fagan did was call somebody before he started to search. And when he came back, he said, oh, I found this, which was a little bit of whatever it was, sugar, salt, I don't know what it was, wrapped up in saran wrap. I said, you a liar. I said, you didn't find that in my mother's house. He planted that in my mother's house in the drawer and said, oh, my brother was standing by it. But then what happens now is my brother goes to the police station, and I just can't tell it all, I'm going to sit down in a minute. But he goes to the police station, rather than letting my brother see the judge on Saturday morning when he should have saw the judge, he did not let that happen. But when I got my brother out, here's the piece too. My brother made a complaint that he said to my brother, listen here. He said, if I was Officer Darren Wilson, I would have pumped more bullets in Michael Brown than they had done. And he told my brother, let me tell you this piece, that the minorities in this community have no voice. And he said, and go back and tell your sister she's not God, that I am God. Why is she trying to act like she's God? He said, tell your sister I'm God. And so we got him out, bailed him out, had to go back to court. He made up something that Monday morning. But the warrant read Jamel Middleton, not Kevin Middleton. And so my brother is now trying to fight to get out, and he said, look, see if he ever been to jail. He looked back to 1988, brother's been clean, 1988, he said, I'm gonna put 10 pounds of cocaine and say that's what you did and send you to life for prison unless you bring me Jamel. Because when he showed us something that was this small, but he said, I'm going to make sure you go for life if you don't get me Jamel. And so here it is, y'all, that we do need, as many of you say, people in this community that can relate to us. Okay, and I said to him, you're not from this community. He said, you're right, I'm not. And so the thing is with the cops here, not all of them are bad cops, because I know a lot of them. But there are things that's going on in our community that we must bring to the table, and I can't tell it all, and that we must stop. Because all of it is, some of it is Ferguson, some of it is New York City with the young man in the hallway, and some of it is some of the other people, Sean Bell, etc., even in Mount Vernon. Okay, and I applaud those that are doing your job. And I can't tell it all, but God bless you.
Brother, but nothing, he did nothing but this is my brother.
It's being investigated by our internal affairs people. Responding to what you're... That don't sound right.
No.
Thank you.
And it just makes me very concerned that it is not activated. I mean,
there you go.
I'm really standing here struggling trying to figure out some things that are so basic that just deeply disturb me, you know. And yes, I watch Ferguson, but before Ferguson, I watched the police in the Bronx follow Ramarley Graham into his house and shoot him in his back. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right in my district. And then interrogate his grandmother in the police precinct. I mean, the commander has the elected officials downstairs in his office talking to us while the police are interrogating his grandmother for 10 hours upstairs, refused to give her medication or a glass of water. You know, so, but if we fail as a community to insist that the things that are in place be activated, having more laws is not going to do what we need to do. When I said earlier that I had hoped that out of this meeting would come something ongoing, I would like us to come away from the people who are, you know, don't worry about the police department doing their strategies and their statistics. We have talent and skill. Do your own statistics and present those as policies that you think that the city council or the state needs to be implemented. Policy doesn't come out of our heads. It comes out of yours. It comes out of your requests. And when black communities, and I'm going to say black communities, because they're different. We are different in the way we behave than other communities. I've been in the state legislature representing you for 15 years. And I watch when those white legislators come, and I know that what they're doing is a knee-jerk response to something that somebody in their community has said must become a law. And they are criminalizing behavior based upon one incident. And we have catastrophic incidences across this country. Amen. And nothing is changing. Amen. And so we can march, and God knows I believe in marching. We can protest. I believe in protest. But I didn't go to the state legislature to protest and to march. I went there in anticipation that we would change policies that would change the lives of the people that I represent. If you're not prepared or don't want to change your life, then don't have these meetings. Don't waste your time. Spend your time understanding that you have power. And no officer who believes that you as black people have power would ever dare to make a statement like that in any community. That's right. There you go. But they dare to
because you allow yourself to be powerless. You allow yourself to be powerless. Well, let's don't talk about voting now. Lord, don't talk about voting. No. I'd be all night on that one. No. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about, you don't express your own self-interest.
That's right.
You don't vote your special interest. See, people talk about a special interest. The water that you drink, that's a special interest. The lives of your children, those are special interests. No, they're not special interests. See, when people come and they march in Albany, it's not about their special interest. It's only when we come that it's our special interest. But we're sitting here talking about the lives of our children. And if that's not an interest that all of us should take special attention to, then I don't know what. And we have the capacity already on the books to do something about these complaints. And if you don't march on City Hall, and please, get past this crap that says because you got a black mayor that you can't march on City Hall.
I've been living in Mount Vernon for 6 years. I've been all over the country speaking about police accountability, policies and procedures training. I've been in front of the city council for the last 6 years, asking the city council to implement a civilian complaint review board. It's on the charge. See, no other institution will allow any employee to cost them $1 million. He couldn't work for Apple, he couldn't work for Google, he couldn't work for IBM, he couldn't work for any place and cost a company $1 million and still have his job. But only in Mount Vernon where the office is going to cost the city $1 million of our money. See, it doesn't come out of his pocket because when he retires, he still gets his pension. We got to understand how this thing works. It comes out of the taxpayer dollars. And if our elected officials who was elected by the taxpayers are not going to put policies and procedures in place to make sure that that doesn't happen, then there's a problem. It's already on the books. We're fighting in White Plains to get them to do it. We're fighting in Greenberg to get them to do it. Paul Finer has no problem. We're going to make that happen. Roach has no problem. We're going to make that happen. We was in Yonkers the other night. They don't have no problem. They're making that happen. But guess what? Mount Vernon is the only city that has it in its city charter, and they're not making it happen. What is the problem? To put it together. I don't understand. I really don't understand. The mayor said he was going to do it. He gets elected. He don't do it. The city council has the problem. You have the power to put that together. So what happened to this system here will never happen again. Come on, we are a city supposed to be governed by black folks, and we know firsthand what happens with us with police. Firsthand. Black law enforcement too, because when I'm not in uniform, I get pulled over in racial profile. Now, when we talking about we want to get more young black kids on the force, we can't until we address the issue of accountability. My wife is a detective, I'm a correction officer, and our 2 kids don't want to have nothing to do with the institution because what they go through being out on the street, being as youth. So how are we going to get the kids that's qualified to score high on the test? Because the college-educated kids, they're not trying to be law enforcement. Because we are failing as adults to have the whole accountability. We are failing.
They don't like the system. They become educated up to
that's it. What I want to say is, as a city, since instead of putting it, let's make it this year, brother. Because see, you are the. I've been through all the city council presidents. You're the newest one now. Because I've been through all of them, and they ain't done nothing but just shake their head yes and talk about you need to bring solutions, and we bring solutions to the city council. They don't do a damn thing. So, brother, it's on you, brother.
Citizens are treated differently. Citizens. That's been clear. It's been vocalized here tonight. What we do in Mount Vernon is we we try to teach our young officers. We understand that we have a different type of police department. We have a lot of challenges. We have a lot of young officers. We have a lot of officers from outside the community, as some people pointed out to the training. And what we try to do is teach respect. Respect goes both ways. Courtesy. Do you have to be respectful to the police? Is it demanded? No. Is it decent? Is it courteous? Can it go both ways? Can we be respectful to our community? Can we be respectful to our neighbors? Can we be respectful one-on-one? These are demanded by our administration. This is demanded of our police officers. Now, of course, police officers are people. Maybe they fall short at times. Maybe they get angry. And maybe they don't act well. And that's why we have our civilian complaint form. And that's why we have a process that's in place. And we review them, and we look at them, and we deal with it through training with discipline. Now, I'm going to turn the mic over to Honorary Deputy Police Commissioner Sean Gardner to discuss the 5-point plan.
First of all, let me say good evening, everybody. All right, we do recognize the eminent and esteemed pastor of this church in his absence, and to all of the elected officials who are here tonight, also recognizing Commissioner Burke, who's coming through the door now, as well as Gaylord, and to all of the officers and members, respective brigade, or certainly here somewhere, and very fine members of this community. I want to take a few moments, first of all, to say that we've been given the honor and the opportunity of sharing community policing with you. I believe for the most part, as the Community Affairs Commissioner, that it is important that we take time out to deal with the more critical issues. Sometimes it's difficult, but at times we need to work through it, because at the end of the day, the police need the community just as much as the community needs the police. Does that make any sense? All right. And so, just to open this up to you is to simply say, first of all, this whole concept of community policing, policing is established, first of all, to, number one, rebuilding relationships with one community at a time. There's a disconnect, there's a fracture, there's a brokenness between the relationship between the police and the community. And we must rebuild those relationships once again. All right? Now, in doing that, y'all those are talking, just a moment. Now, I listened to everybody as they spoke. So I demand the same respect that everybody else was given. Can I have that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. Now maybe we'll take up an offering. The introduction of this presentation and its 5 points, its mission of what community affairs is, the vision, the goal, the objectives, and some current initiatives that will come forward as we move along. The mission, ladies and gentlemen, is to increase positive interaction between MVPD and the community by rebuilding and reclaiming trust within the residents, rebuilding and reclaiming. The vision is to effectively educate, somebody say educate.
Educate.
The public on how to interact with not only MVPD police officers, but police officers in surrounding areas or even across the country, and then how the police are to deal with the community. It's a twofold plan. because the problem here is not only what the police are doing. I like to say this simply because there are many things that are going on in our community that we don't hold the community accountable for. Am I right? Am I making any sense? And so it establishes the goals on both areas. The goals are to create youth and community programs. Start with our young people. I heard 2 or 3 people, as well as the senator, talk about the PAL program. That's one aspect. We talked about the Explorer program. We're working with the Citizens Police Academy so that many of you who are here can now develop relationships with the police. We have putting forward an initiative where we're dealing with the clergy liaison with the Reverend, so that we can have the local pastors who are in the community involved as it relates to what the police indeed are doing. The long-term plan is to find, and this is it, and this is really for the city council and the elected officials. The long-term plan is to find funds necessary to implement a lot of these things. Programs needed to train and educate our community and officers. How many of y'all here believe that not only do the officers need to be trained, but many of us in the community need to be trained as well? Training is to be able to understand what one is doing on both sides and be able to respond in a manner that is appropriate. Most of the time, at the end of the day, when we don't agree with something, we ought to be able to go to our legislators, we ought to be able to vote, we ought to be able to change the dynamics of what's around us as it relates to things that are before us. All right? But that's going to come through the Senate, it's going to come through the mayor, it's going to come through the city council, it'll come through grants and funding, it'll come through our police commissioner and his staff, it'll come through community clergy, residents, volunteers, and even interns. We need everybody to make this work. Are you there? What have been the current initiatives that we brought forward? First of all, introducing myself and introducing the staff to residents and to the community and city officials and faith-based institutions. We have knocked on over 300 businesses, door to door, talking to the business owners on Gramerton Avenue, on 4th, on Stanford. The list goes on and on and on to now establish a rapport with them. Someone said something about not knowing who your police are. Well, this mayor and this police commissioner is now saying, let's go and instead of you coming to us, let's go to you. Let's now stop at the doors, let's give you information, and let's develop dialogue so that we can now, in meetings like this, we can accomplish some things instead of just a whole lot of hot air. Y'all are hearing what I'm saying? Because if these meetings continue to go on and we're not resolving anything, all it is smoke and mirrors. And we want to resolve some things. We want to make sure that your issues are resolved. We want to make sure those who are here are resolved. And we've got to do that together. Amen? Showing police presence at rally events and public and private, involving ourselves. Fostering a positive interaction by speaking to the residents of Mount Vernon and other concerned citizens. Speaking, getting out of those cars, going into the communities, walking up, and as Officer or Detective Clark and a few others are doing, our CPU unit is involved in. Getting out there, showing people that policing is communicating and connecting with the community at large. Listening to their concerns, their complaints, and their comments. Allowing people to understand and to know that what you say means something. It's important when someone says something to you and you listen to them. It offends me when you try to brush me off. And so as police officers, or as the community affairs, that's what we're doing. All right? Now, there's what's called reclaiming our youth. How many of y'all know that's the biggest problem we're having now? Reclaiming our youth. We gotta reclaim. Y'all, come on now. Help me. Offer programs that will teach them and discipline them. A lot of times, I don't know about you, my son is 2 years in Delaware State University. And when he comes home, I'm not concerned about him dealing with the police. I'm concerned about him dealing with people who are living in our own community. Now I say that simply because there are many shootings and many killings that are going on in our community. There's just one right here, 70. Nobody says nothing. Y'all ain't here. Why is it quiet now? But then when the police do something, we want to turn things upside down. And I'm not saying don't do that. But at the end of the day, I believe that we ought to raise the same type of hell when somebody kills somebody in our own community. So we ought to allow them to interact with each other, interact with the MVPD officers in a positive way, not just the negative stuff. The commissioner has allowed us to go into the schools. We've talked to quite a few of the principals, not only the principals, but we are now setting a stage where we're going into the auditoriums and dealing with the young people and really getting into dialogue with them so that they don't fear the police. Let me say this to you. My mother is 4'11". I fear my mother.
That's right.
Y'all ain't hearing what I'm saying. I fear my mother. And if I don't have the same fear for my mother, then how am I going to have any respect for the police? And a lot of our young people don't fear their parents. Why y'all getting quiet now? Come on, let's let the rubber meet the road now, come on. And so we ought to do that. Now, so we ought to re-examine and restructure. That's where you're going to come in at. That's where conduct surveys and feedback, having community meetings at schools, here's another problem, getting parents involved. How many parents are involved? There's so many principals and the teachers who have said that the parents are not involved. We've got to get the parents involved, all right? So that our children will have a positive interaction with the youth and with the police department. Summary, and let me close it out this way. Community policing must be implemented so that we are able to continuously engage and foster a positive interaction with communities and with MVPD officers. It is imperative to establish and maintain relationships that will allow residents to feel safe in their communities. Rebuild community relationships is necessary to partner with the officers so that they're able to effectively police in their communities. How many of y'all know the real policing doesn't come from the police? The real policing comes from the community. And if the community if the police wants to know anything, it's most of the time the community that's going to tell them. So if they don't have dialogue with each other, there are a lot of things that will not happen based upon the fact that there is a fracture between the two. Isolated and ransom incidents that occur should not be a reason for our children to disobey the laws and take the laws into our own hands. It should not be. Isolated incidents. There are many incidents that have been isolated, and believe you me, they should be dealt with, and they are being dealt with, but our children ought to be able to respect everybody, even though they don't agree with each other. Amen? In closing, finally, I'll say that this is a part of the 5-point plan that we have we talked to the commissioner about, we've talked with the mayor about, we've talked with the city council, we met with several other persons involved with it to help bring some of the youth programs back. Yes, there are problems not only with this police department, but there are problems with a lot of police departments across the country. The truth of the matter is there are problems with our communities too. And because there are problems on both sides, we have to come together like you're doing tonight. And you're sitting here, you're airing out your differences and your concerns so that, as the senator said, we can leave here with something tonight to make things better. I know you love Mount Vernon because you're here tonight. You didn't love it, many people don't care. They don't really show the same love that you're showing here tonight. But you're showing it. And because you're showing it gets results. And results are what we need in order to make this thing happen. Is it going to happen overnight? No. Let me ask you again, is it going to happen overnight? No. It's going to take hard work, it's going to take dedication, it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take love. Because that's one thing that we've now moved away from in our communities. There's no more love in our communities. Wow. And because there's no love in our communities, people are not concerned about each other like they used to be. I'd rather kill you than to love you. And that's dangerous. The Bible says, love abideth forever. Love. We ought to have love. All right? So I hope that this presentation is something to help as we go along. Pastor, so good to see you. Bless the Lord. Pastor's here tonight. I have not seen him since the Hood Church. Y'all don't know what the Hood Church is. Down in Harlem, and he came over to preach for us. And he went to California and came up here, and he's up here now making a whole lot of noise in the Lord. And so we thank you for allowing us to share tonight. And I'm hoping that some of this will help you as you move along to show that the police department is doing something. Yes. May not be what you think they're doing, but they're doing some things in order to help, to change, and to engage in what we're doing here in this community. Mount Vernon is a wonderful community with great people. And it seems as though when you're a great people, the enemy is always around trying to steal, kill, and destroy. But look at somebody and tell them, that ain't going to happen tonight. We're going to break that chain in the name of Jesus. Do what we've got to do. And John 9:4 says, and I'll take my seat. I must work the works of him that sent me while it is still day. For the night cometh when no man can work. Thank you.